The sports you know and the players you love. This is the Kittitas Valley Sports Show with your host, Ryan Kuhn.
Welcome to the Kittitas Valley Sports Show. I am your host, Ryan Kuhn, and you're listening to the only podcast that features everything from high school sports to Central Washington athletics to rodeo. This is episode number 3, and with summer winding down and the start of another fall season of high school athletics is just around the corner. My guest this evening is Ellensburg High School Athletic Director Cole Kanyer to talk about the upcoming season. Cole, thanks for stopping by.
Hey, thanks for having me on here. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, absolutely. Now, this is your 5th season as AD?
Going into my 6th.
Now, before we get into all the fall sports, this has to be your dream job. I mean, going from Ellensburg to CW and then now back, hometown boy. I mean,
yeah, definitely. I got away for 2 years in college. I got away for 6 years at the start of my career, but love being back here, love being a part of Wildcat sports. And obviously, there are very few people in our building who have as much Bulldog pride as I do.
So, I mean, it's funny because when my hometown paper, had a position open, I applied, no callback. I guess because I'm up in here in Washington, I was too far away, promised to stay at home. So, so before we get into fall sports, let's talk a little bit about last year. A lot of success of the Bulldogs. What do you attribute all that success? Because it's not just one sport; it's across the board.
Very hard to attribute our success to one specific thing. It's really a combination of factors. It's our student body. We have a great group of kids who are going through our schools right now. It's their parents who get them to practice and enable them to participate every day. And we have arguably the best coaching staff in the state of Washington. Richard James and I used to do a radio show, and we often talk about all of our successful coaches and just their experience and their passion for kids and their passion for their sport. And then obviously we can't leave out our teaching staff. Our teaching staff is, again, among one of the best in the state, if not the best in the state. We just live in a pretty special place. We got some good people around here.
Do you put any pressure on yourself to win? Because, across the board, you guys are pretty much successful.
I don't necessarily think that success equals wins and losses. What I fear is complacency. When our programs are happy with where they're at and our kids are okay with what they're doing, I think that's when, lulls can happen. And thankfully, we've got a group of administration, a group of teachers, a group of coaches who are always trying to bring the best out in each other. And then obviously trying to bring the best out in our kids too. So,
well, it keeps you busy. Last year you had the baseball and softball title game the same day, an hour apart. I know I was struggling. How about you?
Oh, you know what? It's super busy, and if it wasn't for my wife, I'm not sure I'd be able to do this.
I agree completely.
But it's so much fun. And if I wasn't the AD and I was a teacher in our district, or if I was another role in our district, I'd probably be at all these games anyway. So, it's nice to kind of have a hand in how things go.
So brand new sports season starts in a couple of weeks with practices. What are the fans and, everyone in Ellensburg expected to see from these fall sports?
It's a really good question. We've got another great group of kids. We graduated an outstanding senior class, but we've got some young kids that are going to step up and into some big roles in all of our sports this year. We can start with football, and we were all, I think, a little shocked and surprised at how football season went last year. But, Coach Affolter, with all of his experience and wisdom, really turned the whole season into an extreme positive, and we learned a lot from last year. New schedule, new format and playoffs kind of put a wrinkle in things, but our best games were our last 4 games, our last 5 games that we won 5 in a row and played our best football of the year, arguably. So cross country is going to be strong again. We got a great group of junior kids who are pushing each other strong, both boys and girls. And Coach Hashimoto does an outstanding job of tailoring programs for beginners, intermediate, and experienced runners. So you can look to see them right back in the state tournament looking for a spot on the podium. Our girls soccer team, we're really excited about this soccer season. Coach Hatch has done an outstanding job since taking over the reins and has instilled a system that the kids have bought into and I think are starting to become very familiar with. So he and our boys coach, Mark Timko, work closely together to develop the best system they can. And I think that with those guys, kind of playing off each other, the system is going to come to fruition this year, especially with our kids.
With two new coaches like that, do they have the same system where they can kind of play off each other, and how does that work?
It's a great question. They happen to work together, so that helps a little bit. But their passion for soccer, I think, is matched by each other. And I don't think you always will have a situation where coaches will be on the same page right out of the gates. And I'm sure there's some things that Kyle and Mark don't fully agree on, but the fact that their basic philosophical ideas of how to coach soccer match, I think it really works out in terms of them being able to, hey, what do you think about this? Tell me what you think about that. What do you plan on doing? I think they can definitely ask each other some questions that can help each other out.
So let's talk about football. Now, this is the second year where they kind of split the CWAC, a 10-team CWAC, into two divisions. Are there names for these divisions? North, South, East,
North,
West?
South,
okay,
yeah.
North, South. Do you like this now? I mean, you went through it a whole year. I mean, do you feel like it actually worked?
It worked to an extent. There was the whole basic philosophy around the switch in the first place was to address competitive inequity in our league, of which there was some, to keep things a little bit safer for our kids. We ran into a Thursday, Saturday, Tuesday, Friday, or Saturday combination at the very end of the season when we did our Thursday last regular season, Saturday tiebreaker, Tuesday first round crossover games. Put our kids in a bad position having to play 4 or 5 games in less than a week. So, it kind of addressed those scenarios, but when push came to shove, I don't really feel like that was the real issue. I think it really benefited some schools, and it really was a drawback for some schools. And I think we were one of those schools that it was a drawback for. With that said, nothing's going to change. We're going to plow right through it. And I talked to Coach Affolter a number of times this summer, and he's really excited with where the team's at and the outlook for the season. So I'm excited to see us have some different non-league opponents. We won't be seeing some of the same non-leaguers. We got a real tough tough rematch with Royal City again, week 1. Week 2, we have Zilla. Week 3, we have 4A Eastmont, who we haven't played in a number of years, and they're going to bring it, So it'll be very, very much prepare us for our regular season.
I was going to say, so you start with Royal. They're always a powerhouse. Then we go down the line to Zilla at home. Why the 2 1A schools? Why would you schedule 2 1A schools when you guys are 2A?
That's a great question. Well, the 1A Royal matchup is we want to play the best teams in the state, And in terms of physicality, it's a physical team who matches up pretty well with us, who's going to give us a great game. If we played a 4A state champion, for example, we tried to play Richland or somebody, their bodies, I think, would out-physical us pretty easy. So we match up well with Royal, and they're a really high-quality team. The same thing goes with Zilla, and their geographic proximity makes things a little easier in terms of schedule a non-leaguer. So Coach Aff and I work together to make sure that we got some good competition and somewhat proximal so that we can get some of our fans to some of these games.
I was going to say, I mean, it's really not a bad driving schedule. I mean, Eastmont, you have to go over the pass to Wenatchee, but it's really you don't have to go to the west side. You don't have to go to Spokane or anything like that. So that's really good. Is the Eastmont a home and home? So we'll see them here in 2019,
Correct.
20.
Yep, we sure will.
Sounds good. Your field is it's vintage. I like to say it, but down the road, CWU, brand new field coming up. Have you talked to them at all about trying to get a game out there? Or?
Yeah, Dennis Francois and I had a conversation earlier in the year, and I know there's going to be a priority situation that happens because there's going to be a ton of central programs that want to be on that, and being their facility, they're going to have the priority, which is understandable. We'd feel the same way probably if we had that type of facility at the high school. But I could definitely see us probably having at least a postseason game up there if we're in that position. Regular season, it's kind of a coin flip because we want to make sure that we have our own home field and high school experience games. And additionally, we host, our Hall of Fame game. We have our homecoming game. We have a lot of special events that occur, which necessarily wouldn't be the same up at Tomlinson. But, it's going to be a beautiful facility. I drive by there and get chills as I see the lights go up and the drainage go in, and I'm excited to see that green turf go down too. So, I would definitely see us playing up there once or twice in the next few years.
What do you think this year? Maybe
I'm going to guess it's probably not going to work this year, just in terms of how the schedule works and stuff. Unless we're in a postseason situation where we need a field to play up there because we can't play on our own home field. But then again, we'd have to address the field goal posts because they're a little bit more narrow than high school goalpost is. So that runs into a situation that we'd have to address.
That's good practice, though. I mean,
you're right. You're 100% right. Yeah.
Back to the high school rivalry of college or high school football. You guys don't play SELA this year. Is that weird? I mean, because you had that rivalry going, and it's not on your schedule. What? This has to be the first time in 10 years.
Yeah, for sure. And they've definitely been a rivalry school and played them really tough last year, and they ended up making it deep into the postseason last year too. So will it be weird? No, I don't think so, because it's very likely that we'll match up in the postseason if our season goes the way that we hope it does. So we might end up seeing them week 9 or later if depending on how the bracket works out. So, and that's kind of the big drawback with this schedule is that in reality, if we were to continue to play SELA, and we do have Prosser because we couldn't figure out our non-leaguers for week 6, it was kind of a tough week to schedule a non-league contest. And if we play those crossover in our North-South divisions, we could end up seeing those teams 3 times. So we could see them once in a non-league game, once in week 9 crossover, and then once again week 11 or 12 in the championship bracket, which is not an ideal scenario. You don't play a team 3 times. No. So it is going to be a little bit weird to not have that rivalry game, but hopefully we get that rivalry game towards the end of the season and maybe even in the state playoff bracket.
Now, this year you also are doing the EHS Athletics Hall of Fame for the 4th season?
Yeah. Class of 2015 was our first year.
Okay, so 2018. How kind of talk to the listeners about how this got kind of going, and was this your idea or whose really was it?
It's a great question. When I came here, I had some big shoes to fill with Eric Davis, who was my predecessor, and he'd done a ton of work and laid a really solid foundation, and honestly, probably one of the best guys to follow in this job because he had everything laid out really well. And one of the things that he was brainstorming was starting up this Hall of Fame, and he had a committee together, and he spoke to a number of people about this. And when he left, I spoke to a couple of people that he had on his committee, if you will, and we just took it and ran with it. And we got a really good group of people who are on our committee who are working their tails off at a voluntary basis to put this on. But man, the events have been so special in terms of recognizing these athletes and athletic support people who have made our program what it is. And you can see that the event really means a lot to those guys and girls. So yeah, it's just been a blast to pull that event off, and it's fun every year to meet a new group of people. Last year we had the 1998-99 volleyball team. My brother was a senior in 1999, so I knew a lot of his friends on that volleyball team. It was great to see some of those faces I hadn't seen, since they graduated almost 20 years ago now. So
who are some of the inductees for this next year?
That's a great question, and hopefully we got an article here coming out in the Daily Record. But
putting pressure on me now.
But we've got a really exciting class. Some old school names that really kind of helped shape the foundation of our athletic program starting in the early 1900s, and then some inductees as recently as 2007. So I'm really excited for this class. There's some familiar faces and some people that I'm really excited to meet. But our teams and our Meritorious Service Award are going to be equally exciting to induct this year. But I won't reveal any names yet. I'll wait until the article comes out in the paper, and then we'll try to get out more periodic press releases.
How do the high school kids react to this? I mean, do they get to kind of talk to them and pick their brain, do they do it on their own time, or kind of how does that work?
That's a great question. We actually last year, Coach Hashimoto, we had Heidi Smith, who was inducted as an athlete, as a cross country and track and field runner. She came on Friday and stayed the night Friday for our football game, and then went to the ceremony on Saturday. And on Friday after practice, Coach Hashimoto had her lined up to speak to our cross country team. Excuse me. And so that was a cool setup where Heidi could talk about kind of her career and what made her successful and what continues to make her successful in the medical field, but more importantly, kind of bridging that gap to where our inductees can be a part of our programs now. But more specifically, our athletes have been involved in terms of being servers at the ceremony itself, and they get to wear their uniforms and interact with our guests and our inductees. And I know that, we had our football team inducted, it was 1972 football, I think, 73 football 2 years ago. We had 50 some guys there who were all really excited, who wanted to talk to our football guys. And the quarterback of that team went out and watched the football practice, was able to talk to Coach Affolter and kind of, relive some of those memories, as well as wish our team and our kids good luck. So that's been really exciting to kind of bridge that gap a little bit.
A lot of stuff going on in the fall.
There is. And you know what? We haven't even talked about volleyball yet. We haven't
That's
talked
true.
about volleyball.
Let's talk a little bit
talked about girls swimming. So,
let's spend a little time talking about those two sports. Volleyball has always been competitive, and coming out that CWAC and district champions, they're young, and I don't think they lost anyone. I mean, maybe
we lost 3 seniors last year who were all great kids. But I'll tell you what, this year's team is going to be really fun to watch. We got a great group of kids. They're young. We had a ton of starting sophomores last year. It's hard not to talk about Tia Endaya, Gonzaga commit, who, really is the breath of that team. And she works her tail off, and she's an outstanding athlete. She's an outstanding young woman. And I'm really excited to kind of see how volleyball season goes this year.
What about in the pool? I mean, you guys should just take over that CW athlete, just rename it EHS swim, facility. But
well, you know what? Before the success of our EHS swim team, the Central Washington University swim team was really, really successful. National champions.
Oh wow!
I think it was around the mid '90s before the program got cut. But so I don't know if we're there yet to be able to rename that because of their success. But man, our swim team has had a ton of success. Under when I started, Coach Debbie Nethery, who actually is the director of the pool up at Central. She did an outstanding job with our kids, and Candy Esslinger, who took over last year for our team, and is coming back this year, is got a ton of experience and works really well with our kids. She's seen a lot of these kids, even as youth, as the director of the Ellensburg area swim team. So, she's going to do an outstanding job this year with kind of a new group. We're losing some key swimmers. Krista Wilson, was a state champion 2 years ago, and again, just did an outstanding job last year. And then we have a lot of veteran swimmers who will be kind of taking that leadership role on this year as juniors and seniors. So Candy's going to do an outstanding job. It's going to be a fun year a fun fall for our sports. And, academically speaking too, we've just got a great group of kids in the classroom. I think overall we had, something like a 3.2 GPA across the board last year in all of our athletic teams. So
what's the standard for Ellensburg? I mean, they have to have a 2.0, right? Or 2.5?
Got to be passing all their classes to compete. Okay. So, we run about grade checks every 3 weeks or so.
Good.
And any student who's failing, we try to get them some help to get that passing grade up. Sometimes it's very successful and sometimes it's not, but we set a high standard for our students in the classroom.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, it is, you are a student athlete.
Exactly.
Student comes first. And, I feel like no matter what, I mean, that's your ticket to the next level. I mean, you can be good at what you play, but really getting that education is really key.
Absolutely. And we have a number of really bright kids and a number of kids who, are really working their tails off to get their grades. But I think when they get to that next level, whether it's trade school, whether it's right out of the gates and do a job, or whether that's college, I don't necessarily think that that they're always fully prepared for that big step, because sometimes high school is easy for kids, But I think athletics does a great job in preparing those kids for what real life is like, and that's why I'm so proud to be a part of such an amazing group.
You love your job, don't you? I mean,
I love it.
This is like dream come true. I mean, this is awesome.
There's some really, really good days, and there are some really, really bad days.
Hey, I feel you.
Yeah.
So.
But no, I love being a Bulldog. I think I'm super fortunate to be able to work with the coaches that I do and live in the community I live in, for sure.
Cole, thank you so much for coming on. It was a lot of fun. We have to do this again.
Absolutely, I'm on board.
Sounds good. Well, that was another episode of the Kittitas Valley Sports Show. My name is Ryan Kuhn, and with summer winding down and high school sports on the horizon, I will leave you with this. Winners never quit, and quitters never win. Goodbye, everybody.